What's going on, everybody? FYB presents Wise Word Wednesdays, a quick live stream to help you get closer to accomplishing your dreams. I'm your host, Joe Spider, and I do represent the Fresh. First off, let me start this off by saying thank you to each and every person who is taking time out of their busy day, whether you are watching on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, X Live, Instagram Live, or whether you're watching the recorded version, or if you're listening to the audio version on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Listen, I just want to say thank you for taking time out of your day to check it out and listen to what we have. If you're not already doing so, I'm going to ask you to please hit that like and subscribe button. I know that, you may not necessarily feel every single episode, but when you hit that like button, it also allows the people that follow you to see some of the content that we have, which this message or the future or previous messages might be for them. And not only that, but when you hit that subscription button, you can also be notified whenever we decide to go live, and you can get access to all of our stuff. Now, I have a very, very special guest that I am bringing up today. For today's episode, we're going to talk about life in regards to television and film production. And so I have an extremely dope guest that has worked with some pretty well-known folks like Demarcus Cousins, like Mike Epps, like the Plastic Cup Boyz, and most notably Kevin Hart as well too. And I'm sure there are a whole list of other legends. He's worked for like HBO, BET, MTV, and so many more outlets as well. Now, I do have to let you all know that there is a caveat to this man. Unfortunately, he's a Lakers fan. It's really, really bad. I know. Why would I bring up a Lakers fan to this? I get it. Listen, I don't know why he's a Lakers fan. It's unfortunate, but I told him this. If he disrespects the Golden State Warriors on this show, he's banned for life, banned permanently. But ladies and gentlemen, welcome my guy, Brendon Carter. BC, what's going on, big dog?
What's going on, Big Daddy? How you doing, my man?
you say it. You know I had to talk about it.
You did. You set it up pretty well, especially with the preamble when you was like, "Hey, one rule: let's not talk about the Warriors," and then you went right at the Lakers. I was like, "Oh, okay." So none of that
disrespectful.
You went right at it.
Oh man, I appreciate you joining the show today, man. I know you got a real busy schedule, but first off, how are things?
Man, things as well, man. You know what I mean? Like I said, another day above ground, another shot, another opportunity. If opportunities is what you need to chase, and then that makes a life, then I'm good, man. I'm trying to get more opportunities, trying to keep it moving.
No doubt, man. I appreciate you. Let me ask you, how long have you been in the media industry, whether it be television, whether it be film production, just as a whole? Like how long have you been doing this, and what got you started?
Well, I'll be honest. I got my first check for doing this while I was in college. So I was the AS chair at Cal State Chico. So I used to bring all the entertainment to campus, whether it was live comedy, film festivals, bands. I helped put together a comic festival that goes on there now, still called the Northern California Comedy Festival. And then also helped put together a show called We Uzi, which was a World Beat Fest called We, Us, and I. So there was this position that was an elected position, a part of AS, and that person would be the chair of everything entertainment. And my thing was, the reason I really wanted to do it is like I liked entertainment, but I also wanted to be in a position to sort of elevate and be involved in sort of the money of the campus for students. You know what I mean? It's like, how do you, as a student, collect some power and say, okay, this is something that we can actually, if we continue to put people in that chair, the organization, I mean, obviously in Phi Beta Sigma, would have power along that way. And it was just something that, I liked entertainment. I loved it. I was an out-of-state student. Units cost a little more for me, so that little $200 check every 2 weeks or $250, something like that, it didn't matter. It was balling while we was in school. Right. It was about $500 a month. So you know what I mean. It was like, hey, that plus the experience, that's how I really got started in it. I always had a love for it. I was the kid as a kid who would be the one who take the pictures at all the family events, had the little high-end camera and all of that, so that was really my passion at some point that I just really rediscovered when I got to college.
So you've always had a passion for being kind of like behind the camera, whereas interesting, most people, when they have a passion for this kind of work, it's always like being in front of the camera, being recorded, but you're like, nah, I ain't really with that part.
Well, here's what's funny. So when I first got to LA, so I've been in it, to answer yours, it's been about 27 years for me,
Okay.
All in total, just here in LA. So it's been probably 30 with school stuff. So when I first got here, I took a job as a PA, which is production assistant, which is, you ask what that is everything. It's basically a runner. It's basically a person who goes and gets lunches, who picks up talent if they have to, who builds desk, who sits and, picks up coffee, all of those things all day long. So, with that, I had to try to find other ways to kind of augment my, finances. And I had a lot of friends who was out here and they was like, oh, I'm gonna be an actor. So I would go out on some auditions with them. And the funny part about it, I would get callbacks. I'm like, I don't even do this, and I'm like, but wait, how much they paying? I was like, hey, I do it today.
Right. For real.
Today it's on. And, so with that, there was always this thing to pull me in front of the camera. And I'll tell you about an experience where I actually was on camera. So there was a show, and this is many years later. There was a show that was nominated for an Emmy. We didn't win, but it was called Bands on the Run. It was on VH1. And I was the director of it and a producer, but I was also the host of the show. So, and it wasn't as glamorous as you might think it was. We were a traveling show. So I saw right through the network. They were like, B, look, you, because I was part of the process who was going to pick the host. I was like, they're not right. And it was like, well, what do you need? I was like, I need this, like that.
They like that. Sound like you.
It was like, and then I saw right through the network. I was like, it's going to be too much to fly a host out here. All these weeks we're going to be on the road. So they had me and this other, they casted this other producer, a very good friend of mine. Her name is Katina Masouris at the time. Now her name's Katina Turner, but she's still one of my great friends. Yeah. So we were the host of that show, and it was cool, man, because you hadn't really seen a lot of hosts in sort of non-scripted spaces. You know what I mean? So like we were doing that. So for 16, 17 episodes, I was the host of a television show that was on VH1, and unexpected. Yeah, unexpectedly. So, it was good, man. All well-rounded experiences, all part of entertainment. You know what I mean? I've done every job on the call sheet. That's the thing, from being a PA to going up to being the number one on the call sheet. So I did sound for a while. I've shot camera. I was a grip. I worked in the lighting department. I built sets. You know what I mean? Over my career, especially when you first starting, you have to diversify and do a lot of things, because nobody gets the job that they show up for. I wasn't a product of nepotism. Like I didn't have uncle or auntie or cousin them going, hey, come on, I got you. I had hard work and dedication. That's what moved me up or allowed me to be in that space. So, you have to kind of be well-rounded and kind of have to know all these things to help get to your next place. Like they say PAs, you can tell everybody you're a PA, but it's like a lot of PAs go, well, I'm a writer, or I'm a producer, I'm a director. And I used to be like, well, right now I'm a PA, but and so I would hustle, because I was like, I didn't want to slough that job off. You know what I mean? So I would really hustle. And then the executive producers and the directors would notice me hustling, and they started talking to me. It was like, hey, come here. Like, what do you want to do? I was like, don't take this personal, because I respect you, but I want your job. The same thing that you do that I see every day. And it was like, I don't take it personal. I like your drive. And then they helped me continue and drive. I had a guy named Rob Silverstein, who I think he produced 84 Olympics, and he produced Access Hollywood for years. He drugged me around town with his nephew, Adam Jordan. They used to call us the Up All Night Boys, because if something needed to be done by the next day, we was going to stay up all night and get it done. And when the staff walked in the next day, it was going to be done. So,
wow.
Yeah, man, it's never easy. Everybody's movement to the top is different. Some people come in at different levels, but it's always made me stronger as an executive producer to know what it takes in each role on the call sheet and know what my decisions that are being made, how it affects each department, and having the ability to go to each one of those departments and have a real conversation about their skill set and what they need to accomplish to accomplish my overall vision. They respect that. You know what I mean? Like, they know when they go, we're gonna need 3 hours, B. I'm like, 3 hours, come on, you gotta do this, blah, 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 blah. We talking about an hour and a half. They're like, you're right. But when they say, no, B, for real, we need 3 hours, I don't even ask any questions because they know I know, and I respect them enough to go, I'm not a micromanager. You know what I mean? Unless if you ain't doing your job, then I'm gonna do it.
Right. And I'm on it.
Then I'm on it. But other than that, I'm like, man, you're a professional, knock it out.
You know, I think the interesting part about that story, right, is that like each of those roles that you had to do as a PA kind of built you up to put you in position to be able to articulate better or to kind of get through to people a little bit better in their roles now that you're an executive producer. Now you can kind of connect with people because they know that you know what it's like to be in their shoes because you had to do that role at one particular time. Whereas if you were one of those people who, let's say you benefited from nepotism or you just never had the experience or like you just got hired, you know what I mean, straight off the bat into that position, there might have been a lack of respect or maybe just a lack of belief in your ability to resonate with those particular people. So it's really like, you know, there's this meme that's out there where it's like people believe success is a straight line, but in reality, it's like spaghetti, right? The way it like goes all the way around and then eventually it lands out. And so I think that's kind of an important thing for people to know is that it's not just going to be I graduate from college, I get the job the executive producer job, and now I'm working with celebrities all day and all night. In reality, it's like, hey, you graduated from college with legitimate experience working for like the largest student-run government in the California, right? Like working, so legitimate professional experience essentially. Then you went out and still had to get a PA job. And now that kind of led you to 27, 30 years worth of professional experience now.
And you're dead on. Because like, here's the thing. What you learn in school is great. School is for you to develop habits. That's what it's for.
Talk about it, Doc. Talk about it.
You take away some lessons, right? Luckily, in college is a coddled environment. It's to keep you out of the workforce because the workforce knows you like a fledgling duckling that if you go out there right now, you're going to get chewed up, spit out, and then you'll have to take care of you in a whole different way. So college is to teach you habits. Do you get up on time to handle your business? Do you go to the class 3 days a week that you know starts at 6 a.m.? Do you go to your labs on Thursday that you know starts at 6 p.m.? Can you go ahead and figure out in between time how to study for an exam? It's the habits. Habits create lifestyle. Lifestyle creates culture, right? So that's what it's for, to get you in the routine. Because when you come into the field, you're retrained for everything else anyways. It gives you an entry point. It teaches you what some of the gear might be. You know what I mean? And then for me, like my degree, my initial degree, my undergraduate degree, my bachelor's is in sociology and a minor in political science.
Hey, sociology, let's go.
You know what I mean? It had nothing to do with television, but what it did have to do with having the ability to study people and have the ability to understand people a little better. You know what I mean? It's like being able to go, okay, this is a social experiment, less resources, somebody gonna go crazy. More resources, somebody gonna, get obese, whatever it is, right? But still having the ability to wrap your head around it from a standpoint of, man, because in the professional world, nobody's calling on you to help you. Nobody's knocking on your door or ringing your alarm. You're gonna get a call sheet, and then they're gonna expect you to be there, prepared and ready. And a lot of times you have to be a self-starter. Like a day in my life, I'll tell you about it. A day in my life is all self-starting. And I own my own company. So it's like nobody has to wake me up in the morning. You know what I mean? And like, again, just the part about the school thing, it's habits. That's all it really is. Can you get through the habits, or are you easily distracted to where you're not meeting your goals, to where you're not looking to grow, to where you don't have the ability to focus long enough, to where we can't put responsibilities in your hands? Like that's the key coming out of school, man. You never get the job you prepare for. Sorry, you never get the job you prepare for. And regardless, if you are a grad student, let's say you're a grad student, you get done, you've got your MFA, MA. You want to work in television. You know what your job is going to be? Production assistant, entry level,
PA.
That's what I had a degree, and I'm sitting there like, so wait a minute. If somebody come right out of high school and their uncle in charge, and their uncle say, yeah, he gonna work with us this summer, we gonna have the same job, but he don't have no loan debt. Man, that's not fair.
Man. Whenever I'm talking to people who are, high school students or community college students who are interested in trying to go to a 4-year, I always tell them that, unless you're studying very specific things, like if you're studying biology because you're going to be a doctor, you're studying like kinesiology because you're going to be a physical therapist, all these things, like those other majors, right, that aren't like very specific to a specific kind of career. Yeah. The majority of your college experience is going to be outside the classroom for everybody, regardless of your major, right? The majority of your experience is outside the classroom. But for those who aren't going to go to medical school, right, then what you learn outside the classroom is going to be like super critical to the advancement of your career. It's the networking, it's the communication skills, it's do you work well with others, it's like what's your work ethic like all of that stuff is going to be critical when you're talking about developing yourself into a working professional. And so it's good to develop those habits. So I agree with you. Like, school is about teaching you those habits. Are you going to get up? Are you going to go to sleep on time? You have the choice as an adult, right? And of course, at 18, for many people, this is the first time, 17, 18 years old, that they've had complete freedom, right, to do whatever they want. And some people use that freedom to work in their advantage, i.e. you. Some people use that freedom and it works against them because they're so like excited and super like unexposed to this kind of that they just lose themselves. And so I think I encourage people, when you're looking at college, don't just look at the major, don't just look at the programs, look at yourself and ask, how can I thrive in this city, in this community, and what can I do? How can I utilize this natural skill sets that I have to advance myself as a person? And that's when college will work out for your benefit.
No, absolutely. And also too, what some people miss, college is to help train you to understand how to resolve conflicts amongst people that you don't
critical thinking.
Yeah, critical thinking. People you don't necessarily know, people from different walks of life you've never met. It's like, how can you figure out something with them? That's why they put you in groups to work with. That's why I suggest that anybody who goes to college, get your feet grounded your freshman year, your sophomore year, join every activity, student activity you can, that you can juggle safely and not fail out of school, that you can, because it's going to teach you how to interact with people that you've never had the chance to interact with. It's going to, and it brings a lot of positives out of it, because that's what the workforce is. The workforce is, once you get out there, regardless of whatever level, whatever it is, you're going to be working with people you may have not ever met, or types of people, or different races, different backgrounds, different religions you may have never, ever understood your entire life. But if you have the basic skills of being able to, from a human standpoint, of being able to interact, being able to, execute projects together, being able to communicate without it becoming, conflict, like that, those are the things. Like, those are truthfully the things. And you can reapply that. You can go from different career to different career. Those same skill sets will apply in every one of them. You don't know that in your 20s. You just don't. You know what I mean? It's like when you're a kid, your mom used to be like, boy, I know what you're doing. It's Saturday. You're going out with you. I know what you're doing. You're like, she don't know what I'm doing.
She ain't got no clue.
She got no clue. She knew. They knew. So it's like being able to replicate that and being able to realize that the key is to hone in on those skill sets as soon as you can and start applying them throughout life, and you'll have some success. You know what I mean? Because again, it's the regimen, it's the habits. You can have success. Some of us just don't, and some of us get it later in life. Like I didn't have it all figured out in my 20s at all. I was just throwing rocks. You know what I mean? I was just trying to figure it out. But I knew one thing. I knew that I wasn't going back to Wisconsin, especially once I got out here. I knew that I didn't have any family really here. I came to California knowing one person. Actually, I take back two people. And the two people the one person I knew from Wisconsin was my ex-girlfriend. She ran track at UCLA for many years. And then it was Billy Jackson, who's still at Chico State, and her husband, Matt Jackson, because they were the parents of my ex-girlfriend's roommate, Joy Jackson, who also went to UCLA. So I only met Joy, Matt, and Billy over the phone. So I came knowing one person. The plan was to go to Chico, and because it was less expensive than some of the other schools I got in. Once I realized, wait, you're a resident, 25 cents for a unit. They charging me $1.50. You know what I mean? And so it was like, I went up there, but then I met a lot of people who I just really cared about, started to have some rapport with, and I was like, man, I'm here. I'm gonna stay here. Yeah,
man. On a side note, I just want to throw it out there that I won when I graduated. I won the Billy Jackson most outstanding student of the class. So I'm just saying, you feel me? You know what I'm talking about? You know the original, but I'm just saying you feel me? They hooked it up. I'm saying that graduation. You feel me? Nah.
Me and Lo, man. I mean, Billy Jackson. That's auntie, man. That's because there were so many things while we was in school she helped us through. You know what I mean? Like. We actually one summer, Lo and I got together and sat with Billy Jackson and laid out a plan. She said, what do y'all want to do? And we was like, running. And we laid out a plan. And sure enough, that started to happen. You know what I mean? You started looking around, and we were in charge of every organization on campus outside of the Greek letter organizations, So it was like, oh, we got somebody in every place. But she helped us architect that. Some other people that helped. Ajamu Lumumba. Speak very highly of him. That was my advisors for the AS Council. Was a job. Gotcha. You know what I mean? Good dude, man. Good dude.
It's crazy because that y'all remind me of I don't know if you seen that cartoon back in the day, Pinky and the Brain, when they're like, "What are you doing? Planning to rule the world."
Every episode, it was like that. But yeah, that was being low.
So going back to your career, and you talked about your experience as a PA and how that kind of helped navigate your role. When did it feel like, because I know you said your 20s you were just throwing stones, you were just kind of like trying to find something that sticks, right? It's like throwing mud on the wall. It's like hopefully one can stick, but I'm just throwing it. Right. When did you get to the point where something actually landed? Because I think a lot of times people will look at a career and be like, I've been working here 5 years and I still ain't hit. What's going on? You like it, for working professionals that have done it over time, you like 5 years, you just getting started. Like you just figuring out how to even be professional. You know what I'm saying? Like, but so when did you get to the point where you felt like, oh, I actually like cracked through and now I'm in the it?
So I got a position. They offered me a position. So there's a number of positions before this, but the one that really hit was, and it's funny how it came about. I was playing in an entertainment softball league, and a gentleman by the name of Rick DeOliveira was on the team. And he said to me, he was like, I hear you work over at NBC. I was like, yeah, I'm new writer's assistant, blah, 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 on, some scripted shows. And he was like, man, I've got this show that I produce over at a company called Buna Murray, man. You should come over and interview with us. Went over. I was like, all right, cool. What shows is it? He was like, well, we make Real World and Road Rules. I was like, cool. I do the interview. And the job they offered me, because they knew I was creative, the job that they end up offering me was a production coordinator. Now, a production coordinator basically manages the PAs and the head PA. They work directly for the production manager who's on the overall line producers team. Line producer manages just that, the budget and overall logistics. The production manager and production coordinator is right and left-hand man to help micromanage all those things sort of on a micro level. So they offered me the job. The owner of the company, literally Mary Ellis Bunham, she's no longer with us. She sat me down after the interview with the guy Tom Coleman-Rear and Rick DeOliveira and Jonathan Taylor. She goes, "It's cool. I just want to let you know, I hear you want to move into the creative side, but at my company, you're going to learn the money first. You're going to learn how to help people and help move our crews in and out of countries." Bro, so I got that job, and that was a real job and I was doing road rules. So we would be on the road at the beginning. We'd be on the road for like 8 weeks at a time, 8-9 weeks at a time, making these seasons in 3 different countries. And so we're spending the same money in 3 different countries. So here I am now as a production coordinator. Not only am I figuring out how our crews are going to fly from city to city and country to country, I'm helping figure out with our tech supervisor how our gear is going to move in and out of countries. I'm putting together carnets that has, all the serial number information, year, make, and all that. I'm putting together, I'm reconciling cash in different currencies from different countries that still has to come back and be like, okay, we didn't go over budget. I'm written vehicles all over the place, like that kind of stuff. That was the real, I won't say that was the real first job. I said that was the real job where I had to exhibit several skill sets at once. And then on top of it have to be good crews and the teams and stuff who all mostly were returnees. Like I was one of the new people that they were taking out. So having to be able to understand them, having to be able to go, you know what? Pizza's not a working meal.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh. Say it again.
These guys, they've been up. Like we would have 10-hour shifts. So we'd have 3 10-hour shifts to cover the cast. So, and you have to feed them depending on their start time, 5 hours, 4 or 5 hours in. And then they would need to sit down. And during that time, it's like, we just get some pizzas. And you do that and you hear a crew say, man, let me tell you something, bro. That is not a meal, dog.
If you think cheese and bread and tomato sauce is a meal,
you tripping. And that's a great way to have people really start to dislike you. You'd be surprised how far food goes to like smooth things over a lot of time in our business. Like, you know what I mean? If you have a happily fed crew, they're willing to go the extra mile. They're willing to work hard. They're willing to help you out, but if not, they're like, nah, that's going to be a meal penalty player. You know what I mean? Nah, we in overtime now. And it don't stop till we get back to the hotel. So, it was having to try to figure out everybody. But again, all of those different skills. That was the first job where I was like, man, this is a job, because it was logistics, everything logistics. And then, from there, my jobs became more on the creative side, as a segment producer, post producer, field producer, co-EP, an executive producer and director. Now it's what I do. And that was many years ago. Like I did road rules 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 or something like that, maybe 10 too. So all of those. So I did, and I moved up the ranks as I did those seasons. And I think I produced season. This is how far back it goes. Season 4, Real World Special. Just Hawaii produced that, and then Rick D and myself ended up doing a lot of the development for Buna Murray, where we would basically just produce a lot of the things that were in development. And that was always cool because it allowed us to be creative and also balance the money and everything like that, because you have to produce from the money. A lot of people think it's like being a producer is coming up with a great idea. There's different levels of producing. There's a point where you have to produce from the money. If you screw up the money, you're not good at your job, no matter how great the idea is. And if the money is blown, nobody's paying attention to the idea. They go hand in hand. So you kind of have to understand that holistically, production itself, in order to be really effective at it, in my opinion. And I know that to be others' opinions too, but I hate to say that that's just cut and dry. This is what it is, because everybody has a different, perspective. But like for me, you mess up the money, bro, you forget about it. You don't stay in this business this long by messing up the money.
Yeah, you done so. No, I get you.
Yeah.
What let me ask you, what's the worst mistake that you think you've made, either personally or professionally? What do you think is like mistake number one?
So as I said, I climbed the ladder and I was young as it was happening. People kept giving me opportunity because I was delivering. And I realized at some point what I would do, and this is very critical. Like if I would say, take away anything from this, is this. What I started to realize what I would do, or their takeaway with me would be, if I assigned them something and they did not execute it the way that I wanted it to, or execute it in the time frame, I would just take it away from them and do it myself. I wasn't investing in people who wanted to support me. And that's detrimental to anything. If you don't invest in people who want to support you, you as a leader, not a manager, as a leader, you need to empower the people that are with you. And if they're struggling, you need to help them. But I was young, so I took on the pressure. I was like, man, I'm out here by myself. If I don't get this done, I'm fired. Which was no, probably would have got fired if it didn't get done. But what I could have did is say, hey, check this out. This is how you do this. This is what you do. They would have been able to work longer and harder if they wanted to, more efficiently, because I was better as a leader. So that's a big mistake, taking things away and not empowering people to do what they were there to do and help them through the things that they couldn't do as the leader. I take that away because that's a lesson. I always play that back to myself anytime. And it's sometimes you still get in that space where you're like, Jesus Christ, why am I paying somebody to do this when I can just do it? But you're not building anybody. You're not building a staff. And like nobody attains greatness without by themselves.
Right.
Nobody attains greatness by themselves. So that would be the one thing. Make sure that you continue to invest back into the people who are helping you, but also give them sort of a clear direction in order how they can support you. And that'll just help push you up because they feel good, then you feel good. They want to feel good more. They're learning from you and you're growing with them. All of a sudden you look up, it's 15, 20 years later. It's like, man, we've been doing this a long time together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's my biggest mistake.
I like that because I think that's something that, a lot of people don't think about is, your success isn't over the longevity of your entire career, your life, right? Like your success isn't just determined in your personal success, but it's also how many other people were able to reach success around you. And it doesn't have to be success in your same thing, but it means that were you able to help other people develop? Were you able to help other people grow? Were you able to bring out the best in other people? And I think that's something that even for me, like I had to learn because I'm kind of the same person. I'm like, man, look, you can't do it, give it here. I got it. Like, don't even worry about it. Like, I got it. But what happens is you find yourself overworking and then other people are underworking, right? Because now they don't have a job. They're not developing. So now they can't even produce or expand or grow. And you have all this pressure solely on you because you've decided like, no, I can do it. I'm going to figure it out on my own. Here I go. So I definitely think that for any and everybody, for sure, I agree, is that you have to be able to pour into people. And that's what a great leader does, right? A great leader doesn't necessarily, they treat people equally, but they treat him in a way that benefits them or that they can kind of comprehend. So when I say equally, I don't mean, let me say fairly, not equally. Let me
They
say
understand
that.
their charges. They understand their charges,
Exactly.
and they play to their strengths.
Exactly. Right. It's
That's
like it's like a point guard, right? Like on a basketball team, you know, like a great point guard. If you know you've got Shaq on your team, you're not gonna tell Shaq to be a 5-out kind of guy where like space the floor, Shaq. Like, hey, Shaq, go out there for a 3. Like, that's not a great point guard, right? A great point guard says, hey, I got Shaq. All right, cool. Post up, everybody. ISO to get everybody go to the left side. He about to post up, you know what I'm saying, at the low post, and I'm gonna dish it to him, and now he can go score, right? As opposed to assuming that everybody is like Joker and can shoot. That's equally. But when you know their skill set and you're like, this is what you're good at, let me allow you to build. And a great leader says, okay, listen, I saw that you got the ball in the high post, but in reality, if you get the ball in the low post, I think you'll be much better, right? And that's how you bring out the best into out of that person.
Yep, and it's hugely important because again, like the truth of the world, the truth of corporate America, the truth of entrepreneurship, everything is that you're going to put a lot of time in it, regardless of whatever level it is. When you put a lot of time in it, plus you take on a lot of the work, you run the risk of burning out, even if it's passion. Even if it's your passion.
Ooh, you got to say that again, Doc. You got to say that again.
Even if it's your passion, you're going to run the risk of burnout because you're going to take on so much. You have to actually be able to pace yourself. And I say that and I know that. My business partners will tell you I'm the worst at it because they're like, B, you sent 3 different projects and you're asking for notes back yesterday. Today, you want the notes back. And by Friday, we got 9 and you're like, where's the notes?
Right.
So, but it is my passion. And like I say, I get up every day and I'm a self-starter. I just do it. I'll do it all night. Sometimes our days are 15, 16, 17-hour days and it don't feel like nothing. I don't feel like I'm working for 27 years. I don't feel like I'm working.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, it's truly my passion and what I love. It's something about having an idea, putting it on paper, taking it out, turning it into a deck, taking it out, turning it into a sizzle reel, pitching that idea that you came up in your head with to a bunch of people who have the ability to go, here go the money for it. We love that. Let's make it. And then make it and then see it on the TV. Bro, it's just something about that is just different. And even if it didn't make it to the TV, it's the process for me. I fell in love with the process. And that's key too. It's the process. It ain't all people think producing is because something ends up on a record or something ends up on television. No, producing don't always have to end up on any of those. Producing is knowing that your grass is overgrown and by this weekend you having a barbecue and you need to cut the grass and you need to go to the store, get some meat, get some coals, clean the grill. That's producing. You're producing the barbecue.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing that car notes due, mortgage due, and all that, I got to get up and go to the work to make sure that I can handle that. That's producing. Your life is producing. You know what I mean? Don't get caught up in nuances. It's like everything that you do in order to get an outcome is producing. And the process to get to that the outcome ain't always guaranteed.
Right.
I work in an industry where I hear no 85% of the time. 85%, but that 15% is so amazing. And when you do it, bro, it's like Super Bowls, NBA championships all in one. And that's the thing. Some people think the outcome is to win. A lot of times the outcome is to get a lesson to help you win. There are no losses. It's just lessons.
Right.
To help you win. Because there is no, in my business, there is no, this is how you do it to get there. There's a, hey, you should maybe do this a little more, do that a little less, and this a little more. But it all works out different for everybody. You know what I mean? And that's the thing you always have to keep in mind is like, no one gets there the same way. What is going to be your way? What are your strengths? And how are you going to empower people to help you get to that place? And once you do, what are you going to do when you get there? You know, because, you know, today we have so many people who emulate the result versus the work. I love the work.
You know, one thing that I kind of struggled with is that, you talked about your passion, you talked about you being able to work late hours and it don't feel like it. And one of the things I struggle with is it was recognizing that not everybody who does the work is passionate about the work. And I think, there are things where, like, when you're passionate about something, you'll stay up late to do it. Yeah. And you will be excited to do it because you're doing something that you love. You're doing something that you're passionate about. Like right now, I mean, it's 8:50 at night. You know what I'm saying? Like
3:30 this morning.
You feel me? And it's like, but it's like passionate. Like we're doing this after hours because it's like, this is what we're passionate about. Right. But what I used to get extremely frustrated when there were people, when I was working with people, or when I am working with people who aren't working as hard as I am, but I had to realize they're not as passionate about it. And I can't be upset with them because they're not going above and beyond to do the things, because they're just here to do work. They're not here to be, because they're doing what they're passionate about. And when you understand that, I no longer got upset. I just recognize that there's a difference, and that's okay. It doesn't mean that they're bad people. Doesn't mean that they're bad employees. It doesn't mean that they're bad co-workers. It just means that they're different, and that's fine. It gave me kind of peace of mind. So now I wasn't upset when they weren't doing what I was doing, because I was operating out of my passion and they're not, and that's okay.
Right. And also too, again, as the leader, you have to understand people's limits. Like, just because I was 26 and single and I was willing to work all night, I had employees, got
families,
28, 26, 27 with 3-year-olds, with 4-year-olds. You know what I mean? Like, and they got to get home. They got a wife who ain't going to understand.
Right.
It's not that she don't understand, is that they have an agreement too. You know what I mean? And again, it's that balance. How do you balance in this world? Or how do you balance in this business? Because this business will wear you out, bro. And then there's this thing, you got to keep it, you got to hit it when it's hot. When you hot, because you don't know when that next one's coming. You know what I mean? You don't know when your series is going to end, because it's not up to you. You know what I mean? You don't know when your next series is going to get greenlit, because it's not up to you. You know what I mean? And it's like, you have to be able to balance that. I'm horrible at balance. I ain't going to front. I will do this all day, bro. There's moments. So our offices are in Canoga Park. There's days that I will go there and we'll be there for hours at a time. Then there's days I'll work from home and I realize I literally just got out of bed, got in the shower, came and sit in front of my computer, and I've been there for 17 hours straight. You know, I got to remind myself, did I eat? You know, it's not good. It's not good. I'm glad I have that gear. I try not to go to that gear often, though. You know what I mean? Because it can be, health is wealth, health is everything. But you also, it's a mental break too, because you know what I mean? It's so draining and it's so time consuming, and you're literally imitating human nature before it happens in order to write it. Right. You know what I mean? So there's like a real connection there. So there's a real emotional ride there, because now you're living the characters. Now you're into the character, or whatever it may be. And if it's non-scripted sort of, I hate the term reality, because that's a different genre for me. But like non-scripted, where it's like you're putting people in real situations, you still have to try to figure out those situations, because it still has to make narrative sense. And you know what I mean? Because the network ain't gonna buy something. It's like, well, we think this is gonna happen. They're like, well, we don't think this is for us.
Right.
So yeah, all those things come into play.
So another question, I wanted to ask is, when you are facing challenges and difficulties, and we talked about, the passion and having that, but what is it that keeps you motivated, when these challenges that do come? Because, in life, everybody's going to have challenges. There's no person that got through life and never had challenges. So when you're as a working professional and you are facing some of these challenges, what gets you or what keeps you motivated during that time?
Well, the outcome a lot of times, and plus, so I have two partners. My company, our company is called Blue Speed Productions, and I have two partners, Joey Wells, our frat brother from U Lambda, who's a stand-up comic, who's the host on a lot of Kevin's tours, and
Shout
Harry
out! I met him at the tailgate this past. Yeah, San Jose State. Yeah,
and
that's
Harry,
right.
and Harry Ratchford, who Harry and Joey has been sort of writing with Kev for almost 20 years. They wrote Night School together, you know, and me and Joey obviously known each other 30 some years. And then Harry, Joey, and I were all independent, and we were working on like Heart of the City with Kevin Hart, which Joey created, and then he brought me in to help him produce it, develop it up, or produce it like in the third season. And then Harry and Joey and I started working together. Harry had an idea about Kevin Hart's Muscle Car Crew. We got together, developed it, took it out, pitched it, partnered. I was the one who had the most experience in the space of producing and directing. You know, they were by trade writers. So our together is something that's really special and starting to pick up a lot of heat. So when you say what keeps me motivated today, and we have a really great chief of staff, her name's Jeray Ray. She's dope too. She's gonna be a force to reckon with. Like real talk. She's solid. So today, what keeps me grounded is the fact that I have people who I can communicate with both clearly, authentically, and transparently. That's what keeps me motivated, because you always have those situations where you can be in the room and you can really say what it is you want to say. And by saying that, it keeps you locked and loaded and excited to go. There's a whole different feeling when you can have conversations with people who are your peers and they hear you.
Right.
You know what I mean? When they hear you, and what's going to come back is going to be not what you want to hear, but what's good for you.
Right.
Like I love that kind of symbiotic relationships. Tell me this is all the way off. Okay, cool. I'll walk away and think about it. And if it is, I'm a man and come back and say, my bad. You know what I mean? I'm sorry. So that's what does it. And in the past, I've had pieces of that. But the other thing that the other thing that really keeps me motivated is that, like I said it earlier, bro, I came out here by myself. I go back to visit. That's where I'm from. That's not where I'm going to be. So I do everything I can to stay here. Plus, I've just always had a competitive nature. Like my first love was athletics. You know, I used to box, play baseball, run track, all at a high level, run national championships and all that kind of stuff, state championships, regional championships. You know what I mean? Been All-American in high school, all that kind of stuff. Like I'm just a competitive by nature. That's why I'm a self-starter. That's why those habits from that transfer over to this. Now, the one habit that that didn't keep transferring was going into the gym. I don't do that no more.
Don't trip. I got you, Doc. I'll be there.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
For the both of us.
I'll ride some bikes real far. I'll ride my skateboards and all that. But I mean, I'll lift some weights, just light ones a lot. I ain't trying to max out and none of that no more. But that's what kind of keeps me driving. Like driven is like being a self-starter. And plus, as most people know, I've tasted a high level. I know what it took to get there. And anything less than that, you might as well go, I ain't gonna do it. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah. I've smelled it, I've seen it, I've touched it, I've been around it. I know what it's like to do it, to be appreciated and recognized by your peers. You know what I mean? You don't do it for that, but when you get that, it's like, okay, cool. You know what I mean? So that's what really keeps me driven. Plus, you know what I mean? Look, I beat every odd in my life to be sitting here right now. I was born to a teenage mother. I was a teenage parent. Not only was I wasn't even supposed to make it to college on scholarship, I wasn't even supposed to make it out the city. And to be sitting here and have been sitting in front of the people that I've sat in front of and worked on the shows and the people that I've worked with, like when I did the Osbournes, there's no reason for Ozzy Osbourne to reach out and talk to me or want to listen to me when it comes to us doing coverage, other than that I made him comfortable enough to trust that I was good at what I did, or Gene Simmons or Vince Young, you know what I mean? Or to be on the ground floor of helping, you know, bring Punk'd, when it used to be originally called Harassment, to fruition, and then later be taken over to you know, Ashton's company and be one of their people there with you know, at their company as a sort of their the executive they trust and believed in. A gentleman named Rod Asa took me over there with him. But like, I look at every opportunity as an opportunity, because I know what it could have been, but I know what it is, and I know what it feels like to get there and what it takes to get there. And it's man, it's just like, it's that rush, it's that thing, it's that, you know what I mean? It could be a lot, it could be many other things that it ain't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, it's the drive, man. And this happens all the time. It's like, I work with, a lot of times we're bringing on staff that's a lot younger, and they get tired faster and they want to go home earlier. And I'm like, and I never can say it. I want to be like, bro, let me tell you something. I got
come here, youngster. Let me pull you to the side.
I got like 15, maybe even 20 years on you, and I ain't done yet. Like, I'm still running around, even in the field, even when we out on locations. Like, as a director on location, I'm literally at a monitor bank the entire time, and walking and over and talking to the talent, trying to get them right in the scene. Sometimes the monitors are so far away, just so, you know, it's so far away, I run back and forth. I run over there. Sometimes I'll just stand there, not even go to the monitors, and then run back. You'll see people moving close. I'm like, no, leave it. I'm good. You know what I mean? It's just a drive, man. You gotta find that thing that sparks you and pushes you and makes you get up at 3:30, 4:30 in the morning. Get your shake in you. Then get on that computer. Start banging out ideas. Start trying to figure out stuff from the next day. Start hitting deadlines. Start creating again. Because volume is the key in this world of production. So it's like, how do you keep that moving and at the same time allow yourself to be healthy? You know, so I think that's the motivator. You know, like I said, I was a teenage parent, man. My daughter Alexis is dope. When I talk to her, she makes me laugh so much. And when I hear her say stuff like that, I'm so proud of you, bro. That makes me want to do more. Really does. It makes me want to do more. That's it. I love that. A number of factors, bro. It's a number of things.
I love that, man. So could you give me a list of people, some notable people that, you know, you have worked with over your 30 years? I mean, I know I said a couple of them, but feel free to restate some of those, but also say some more. I mean, you talked about Joey, you talked about Kevin, you talked about Ozzy Osbourne. What are some other
go ahead.
Gotcha. Just some other dope, you know, notable people that you might have collaborated with?
Gene Simmons. I was a co-executive producer and a director on the Gene Simmons Family Jewels. Ashton Kutcher, Jamie Priestley, Vince Young, Joey Wells, Kevin Hart, Mike Epps, DeMarcus Cousins, Shaq, Lewis Belt. Yep. Lewis Belt. Carlos Miller, Nick Cannon from She-Ball.
I mean, the list is, when you got 30 years, the list just goes on and on at that point.
Yeah, some more, Teddy Carpenter, a lot of comics, man, a lot of good comedic actors. Comedy's my thing. I really love that genre, that space. You know, the Fab Five, the original guys. I did like that I did a lot of that first season. I did like 20, 30 some episodes. That was nominated for an Emmy. You know, it's been blessings, because when you look at me, when you talk to me, there's people who are sitting me down at the table, not because I know someone, it's because of what I know. And so I've always thrived in that realm. You know, I've even worked with Shannon Sharp and Skip. You know, I direct the promos for Undisputed in the first season. The ones when they're at the barbershop, Leslie Jones. Yeah, I'm happy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, but the thing is, they working with me too.
That's a fact.
You know what I mean? And
That's
that's
a
what
fact.
I tell people. I say, hey, you got to realize, if someone is inviting you to a meeting, they're as excited to meet you as you are to meet them.
Right.
Because you've worked to be there.
That's real.
Yeah, and that's facts. And look, like I said, I didn't always make all the right decisions. And I accept that. You know, there's a couple moments in my career that I thought it could all have been over, but I was just putting a lot on it. Because I'll tell you, man, this is not a game for the meek, because you're gonna miss some meals at some point early in career.
Right.
You might sleep on the couch or 3 or 4 or 5. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You got to be really, because if you get into this business thinking you're going to get rich and make the money,
you're going to quit.
You're going to quit because there ain't no passion to it. I mean, money will come, but you got to hone your tools. You got to sharpen your tools to when you get to that place. And that route, it ain't easy. I've seen people who've had a great 2 seasons of a hit show and then don't have nothing else. And then they back at square one. They went through all the bread. You know, you gotta plan. You gotta do a lot of things here, man. Or go through a bad situation. Like I said, I'm very transparent. I went through a divorce. Man, it was the worst time of my life. Because I'm gonna be able to retire and be done with this by now. I was like, oh man, I gotta go back to work again. All this. But it was easy to do once you go, yeah, you know how to earn, you know how to execute. That's the thing. Execute, man. Being able to execute is bigger and better than any bunch of words that can come out your mouth.
I like that. One of the things I love about you, bro, is that if somebody just met you just on the street or just was talking to you random, like they wouldn't know like that you've done so much great work. I think like you're really humble as a person. In life. And I think that's really dope, because I think it speaks to just the character that you have, and just the quality human being that you are, and just wanting to do what you can to support, and help and reach out with others. And you're always willing to, spit some game and some knowledge about that. And that's kind of really the reason why I started like Wise Word Wednesdays. So me and my friend, just a little background, we started Wise Word Wednesday. And I know you already know a lot of this because you've been keeping up with it. But we started Wise Word Wednesdays 7 years ago because, we saw social media and we saw some things that we didn't really like all the time. Like it was there was some good stuff as for sure, but we saw a lot of things that we didn't like. And so we were like, why don't we one day a week just like commit to putting something positive out there? You know what I mean? You could be as ratchet as you want to, Thursday through Tuesday. But on Wednesday, like just try to do something positive so that we leave a little bit of positivity out there for people to be able to consume, as opposed to just what you ate or going to a function or what you got on or your shoes or whatever. Like, and so that's kind of where it started. And we've done it every single week for 7 years. And now it's developed into this, online show to where I'm able to kind of give other people a chance to elaborate and provide people with wisdom and experience and things that they've learned over their lifestyle. And so I just love the fact that, you're always willing to provide some knowledge, some insight, and some support in a variety of different ways. But let me ask you, before we get out of here, if there was a piece of advice or information that you can kind of give to other people to help them in life about anything, if there was one word or phrase or saying or statement, what would that piece of advice be that you would provide to the world?
Listen more, talk less, and do as much as you can when you can, because you're not always guaranteed a second shot. Like you got to leave it all on the table, leave it all on the field. You also like listening more. Sit back and listen. Don't just hear people, like listen. Because if you can listen, then you'll connect. Then that'll help in communication across the board. Talk less. That's part of listening. Talk less. But again, like do more. Like if you really feel it, do all you can to make it, to see it towards fruition. Like don't leave anything on the table. That's the worst feeling ever. That's like regrets. You know, when they say to people when they going away, it's like, do you regret anything? Oh, I got a ton of regrets. I wish I would have cut the grass more. I wish I would have got my wife flowers more on Wednesdays. Just do it, or do some version of it until you can do it the way you want to do it. Like, leave it all on the table. My man Inky Johnson says it the best. I love Ink. I got to meet him. Man, Ink is the man to me. He said, "You'll do it tomorrow." How is that promised to you? How is tomorrow promised to you? It's not. You do it today, or do it today, man, and invest in people. We got a lot of people who don't invest in people, meaning it's all about self. Invest in people, man. And I don't mean just putting money into people or paying for something. It's like help grow them, help develop them, help rear them. Hand the information off, pass it back. Like, give the information to somebody. We should all be sharing information, is my point.
Right.
What you do with it is what you do with it, but we should all be sharing information. We should all know a lot of the things. And if we don't know the things specifically, we should know somebody or be able to access somebody who does. Like, I'm a true believer of that. And you know, it's like, even within our organization, like I'm boisterous at times, but at times I'm like, somebody else ride. You know what I mean? Like, because I know the who's who of who's who. This person on your staff, he ain't great at nothing but on set, making sure everything moves smoothly. This person is only great at picking up talent. Don't put them in situations they're not going to thrive in. Listen to them, hear them out, and then put them in the best position to succeed. That's it, man. Like, listen more, talk less, do more, put people in the right place to succeed, and just like really invest in people. Because that's what I think a lot of the problems we're having societally right now is about. We done lost investing in people, you know, making people the priority versus outcomes and figures and shit. Like,
I agree wholeheartedly, man. And I think, you know, especially, you know, my generation, you know, I'm a millennial. And so a lot of us operate in self gratification. You know what I mean? They if they don't see how it's going to help them, they're not interested in it. And there's this saying that, you know, whenever an old person passes, a library burns, you know, which there's so much information that, you know, the elder has that isn't being transferred to the youth, and the youth then go on making the same or similar mistakes as their elders, but because they weren't equipped with the knowledge, they're held back. So there is KRS-One has this video on YouTube where he's talking to a young person, and he says that the older generation and the younger generation need to come together. He's like, because the older generation, when they give the knowledge to the young generation moves faster because they have the technology, they have the skill sets and the energy with the knowledge of the older generation. And he says when the younger generation helps the older generation, they move faster. The older generation moves faster because they have the information and the experience, but now they've been equipped with tools to be able to help them shift that and move even faster. So he's like, we're dependent on each other, regardless of where you are on the scale, to be able, or in the timeline, to be able to support each other live. So I definitely agree, man. You got to be able to listen to people. That's why God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. Listen more, talk less, and build into others, and definitely get the best out of it. So I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah, man. And like one more thing is like, what really has to happen, like what KRS was saying, like a bridge between these generations, because it doesn't make sense to us to have generational beef, right?
Right.
Because the younger generation says, y'all ain't listening to us. The older generation saying, y'all ain't listening to us. You know what I mean? It's the same thing. You know, when you think about it, it's like that's what's being said. And it's like, well, if ain't nobody listening to nobody, ain't nothing go get done. Everybody just doing it on their own, man. And you know, this didn't get this way on its own. It's like we have to find a middle ground to where there's understanding and saying, look, my generation, I had a black book and a smartphone. You know what I mean? There's some knowledge in that.
Right.
There's stuff in there. You know what I mean? That can be passed on. I'm interacting. We interacting with your generation, but there's some stuff over here, bro. Like we used to remember every phone number in our head.
Bro, oh, yo, listen. It's crazy because as a millennial, I'm the last generation to do that, to know what it's like to have to walk around with a pen and a piece of paper in case you wanted to knock something. You had to be able to get their number right then and there. And so I remember you used to be able to memorize numbers so you can call them. But I'll say, I know when it made the switch, what happened was phones, when people would call, the number would pop up, even on cell phones, the number would pop up along with the name, but they switched it and now only the name pops up and not the number. And so what happens is you get deprogrammed or desensitized to the ability to memorize the number. And so now people don't even know people's phone numbers anymore. But I was the last generation of people who literally used to memorize numbers or take down or write numbers with a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil.
It used to be a rite of passage, man, where parents would sit there and grill you on your home phone number, your grandmother's number,
right,
or uncle's number, because that was your emergency contact.
Right.
And once you got those, you felt like you was a big boy.
Man, you knew it. You were good.
Like, oh man, I got these. The next thing you know, your uncle will be like, here, man, I got you this. What's this? A black book. It's like, this is my first black book. Yeah.
You'll have many more.
Exactly, brother. Exactly, man.
No, that's real, man. BC, man, I genuinely appreciate you taking the time to join. I mean, I know that, like I said, I know you got a busy schedule and whatnot. So the last thing that I'm gonna say is that if the Plastic Cup Boyz need another guy, I don't do comedy, but I could be one hell of a backup. You know what I'm saying? If they need somebody else, ever need a scene that they just need another version of Kevin Hart, just like we the same size, but I'm just a little bit lighter and I ain't got no hair on the top of my head, then let me know, because I am in. I got it. Like I said, I don't do no comedy, but if they could write some jokes, I could deliver it.
Hey, man,
what they need to what I did is I'll be the motivator for the Plastic Cup Boyz. That's what I'll be. I'll be the person that get us.
All right. I'll let Joe know that right away, brother, and say, hey, look, man, you know, he might be on to something, he might not be, but I heard him.
That's what he heard. That's what I heard. I don't know. Any projects that you're working on that's coming up that you want to let the folks know about?
Yeah, I mean, we just released our second season in February of Kevin Hart's Muscle Car Crew. It's been tested and doing really well. We're knocking on the door of season 3. We have a number of things in development that we're just waiting to get out. Some things I'm not allowed to talk about at the time, but they're big. They involve sort of, you know, some people who are in the spotlight. They are things that are immersed in culture. You know, we're working on some things with some really big brands across the board, whether it be NASCAR, Major League, MLB, all across the board, like a lot of big brands and a lot of big names. But most importantly, things that we think are impactful for culture. You know, the names don't matter. It's the impact and the ripple. And that's what we go for. It just so happens to be associated with some names. So, you know, that's our thing, man. Our company's slogan, Blue Speed. So Blue Speed, our relationship with Blue Speed and Heartbeat is Blue Speed. We have a production deal and a first look deal with them. So they're our parent company. So everything that we create, we have to go send to them. And then if they don't partner with it, then we get to take it out. So that's a really great relationship. Our whole thing is sort of hidden history, hidden figures, those without a voice. How do we elevate that in authentic storytelling? That's organic, not contrived stuff. Anything that we do, like Kevin Hart's Muscle Car Crew, which is more educational, we hate the term in reality, just because reality is a whole different connotation. When most people say reality, they think drinks in face, and
fighting and all
on
that.
stage at a reunion fighting. And that's the great thing about it. Me and my partners ain't into that stuff. People like it. I'm just not a fan. Never have been.
Same.
You know what I mean? So some people like it. I get it, but that's not what we do. We do more non-scripted. We do commercials. We've had a number of commercials that hit, from Chase to Beyond Meat to Hydro. All of those commercials we write, produce, and direct. We've had some creative that's gone to Chase with some of the Steph and Kev stuff. Practice.
About the team.
Right. So we that's sort of our overall model and how we're set up. But yeah, man, we got there's some good things coming up, and they'll be in the trades, and I'll make sure folks know about things. And again, man, thank you for having me, brother. I really appreciate it. Anytime you want ever again, another panel, whatever, I'm with it. Just give me enough lead time, because my whole thing is, I believe, like I said, we should be sharing information, allowing ourselves to put people in a position to succeed and grow, but also have a way to touch hand to hand some people who doing it. So it's more than a mentorship. It's like an experience-ship. I just made that shit up. That's kind of fly.
I like that. Experience.
Yeah, it's an experience.
Ooh.
That's mine.
that probably Wise World Wednesdays, Nah, man. I appreciate. Listen, man. I appreciate you. I want to say thank you to everybody that joined in, whether you were watching on the IG live or joined in. Thank you so much for taking the time, ladies and gentlemen. Brendon Carter in the building, BC. I'm gonna leave y'all like I always leave you. We fresh, and I love you, y'all. Take